Hello learners, welcome to this video on the topic Authenticity and Credibility in Creative Writing, which is included in Module 1 Unit 2 of your course. This video considers one of the fundamental laws of creative writing, that is, the establishment of authenticity and credibility in a literary text. In this video, we shall discuss the various implications of these two concepts and illustrate how writers have successfully handled them in their writings. So, what are the main objectives of this video? To define authenticity in creative writing, to relate the understanding of authenticity with credibility, to discuss the role of first-hand experience in writing, and to explore the role of imagination in authenticity and credibility. Every art has its own proper laws, and the law that governs tragedy and all creative writing for that matter is the law of probability and necessity, Aristotle's Poetics. So according to this definition, that which is convincing in art is also that which is possible and probable. In other words, even an incident that has actually happened in real life, if it is not convincingly portrayed in art, it will fail to appear credible or authentic. So, it is the art of the creative writer that is ultimately responsible for giving authenticity and credibility to a work of art. What is authenticity? So, authenticity in creative writing refers to the quality of being genuine, truthful, and original in voice, emotions, and narrative of the writing. It does not necessarily mean factual accuracy, as in journalism, but focuses on emotional truth and believability of the story within its context. Thus, authenticity is about being genuine, truthful, and original in the writing's voice, emotions, and narrative. Unlike journalism, authenticity does not require any factual truth. It emphasizes the honest portrayal of emotions and themes. And lastly, the story must feel real and credible, that is, believable within its own framework. What is credibility? Credibility in creative writing refers to the believability or trustworthiness of a story, of characters or narrative. It ensures that readers can accept the events, emotions, and ideas within the world of the story, even if it is fictional or fantastical. Credibility is important because it ensures that readers trust the story and remain engaged. It allows readers to immerse themselves in fictional worlds without questioning their plausibility. Next, credible narratives make emotions and themes resonate more powerfully. Before we move on to understand the concepts of authenticity and credibility with examples, let us first try to relate its importance in creative writing. While dealing with this subject, therefore, it is necessary to discuss the difficult question of the relationship between art and life. Several questions may come to our mind. Should authenticity and credibility be considered as internal rules of art, or should they be understood in relation to real life? If a creative writer is bound only by standards of authenticity and credibility as they apply to real life, their creative imagination would be restricted to the limits of real life experiences. However, if artistic truth has no connection to real life, what would make a reader perceive creative art as believable or credible? To find answers to these questions, let us go back to one of the earliest critical discussions on this problem in Aristotle's Poetics, written in the 4th century BC. The role of a poet or creative writer is not just to describe events that have actually occurred in real life. For that matter, a historian or an anthropologist is a better option because they deal strictly with facts. A writer who fictionalizes facts cannot be expected to limit themselves to only what has happened, as their creative license allows them to invent events that may only exist in the realm of imagination. The creative imagination of a writer gives them the freedom to envision possibilities beyond the confines of reality. According to Aristotle, in literature, even events that have actually happened in real life may not seem convincing if the writer lacks the skill to express them effectively. In other words, even a plausible event can appear unconvincing if not handled properly by the writer. However, if a writer can skillfully use literary techniques to persuade the reader to believe in the events, the writer's art will be recognized. This ability of a creative writer, as advocated by Samuel Taylor Coleridge, is the popular, we all know, the willing suspension of disbelief by the reader. Indeed, all of us are familiar with it. So, authenticity of a text is determined by the ability of a writer to make others believe in the work of the creative imagination, and a writer achieves this through her craft. If the craft itself is faulty, representations of even real events will fail to convince. An excellent example of authenticity is J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter series.
If an idea is rooted within yourself, your values, your experience, your memories, then what comes out is has a much higher personal value. Mm-hmm. And since we all have different lives, there are no two people alike. No two people have the same experiences, and even if they have the same experiences, they don't live it in the same way. They all interpret the same experience in a different way. Then that idea has a very high potential for being original. As opposed to somebody who is just trying to follow fashion, trends, so it's not true to her or his own values, so it's not authentic, then the potential for originality of that idea is very low. So authenticity is an element of originality which is important in terms of being true to your own ideas, in a sense.
Despite Hogwarts being a fantastical world of magic with an imaginary setting, Rowling has achieved authenticity in her portrayal of the magic world. While the story is set in a fictional world filled with magic, mythical creatures, and fantastical elements, It resonates with readers on a deeply emotional and thematic level, making it feel authentic. The series is authentic in the sense that it explores themes that are universal, such as love, loss, friendship, courage, and the struggle between good and evil. These emotions and themes are authentic, even if the magical setting is fictional. For example, we see Harry's grief over losing his parents and his longing for a family are emotions that many readers can relate to, even though the circumstances are fantastical. The characters in Harry Potter feel real because of their depth, flaws, and growth over time. Their motivations, struggles, and relationships reflect authentic human behavior. For example, Hermione's relentless pursuit of academic excellence, Ron's insecurities about living in the shadow of his siblings, and Harry's internal battle with his destiny are all rooted in emotions and experiences familiar to readers. Rowling creates a magical world that follows its own internal logic and rules, making it credible within its context. And this consistency adds to its authenticity even though it is entirely imaginary or fictional. For example, the existence of magical institutions like Hogwarts, governed by clear rules and traditions, mirrors the structures and hierarchies of real-world educational systems, making it relatable despite its fantastical elements. The series grapples with moral dilemmas such as the cost of bravery, the importance of choices over destiny, and the complexity of human nature. These questions feel authentic and relevant, transcending the magical context of the story. So, an example may be cited as the relationship between Harry and Dumbledore, especially in the later books. It reveals layers of trust, doubt, and moral ambiguity that showcases the authenticity of human relationships. Thus, we have seen that authenticity in fiction does not rely on the story being real, but on it feeling real. By creating a world with depth, consistency, and relatable emotions, Rowling makes her imaginary universe authentic and believable. Now, how do we relate it to credibility? Authenticity and credibility are interlinked concepts that enhance the believability and impact of creative writing. Authenticity builds credibility. Authenticity refers to the emotional or thematic truth of the work, ensuring that it resonates with readers on a personal or universal level. Credibility, in turn, refers to the believability of the work, which arises when readers trust the writer's representation of characters, events, or ideas. In Raja Rao's Kanthapura, authenticity and credibility are interwoven through the narrative voice, cultural setting, and themes, making the story both believable and emotionally impactful. For instance, the story is narrated by Achaka, an elderly woman from the village of Kanthapura. She often weaves mythology into her storytelling, such as comparing Gandhi to Rama or Shiva, These comparisons, please note, these comparisons resonate with the villagers, grounding the political struggle in their spiritual and cultural worldview. Raja Rao authentically portrays the socio-political landscape of pre-independent India, particularly the influence of Gandhi's non-violent resistance movement on rural communities. The novel draws from Rao's personal observations of the Indian independence movement. So, the depiction of caste hierarchies, village rituals, and communal life, this all feels authentic because it reflects lived realities of the time. In what way are the characters authentic and credible in Kanthapura? To answer this question, we may understand that because the struggles, fears, and hopes of the villagers during the independence movement feel deeply relatable and grounded in human emotion. The characters are neither idealized nor overly simplified. For instance, the protagonist, Murthy, is portrayed as an earnest yet fallible individual, grappling with the challenges of implementing Gandhi's ideals in a traditional society. Raja Rao blends mythology with contemporary events, making the story authentic to Indian cultural sensibilities while maintaining credibility within the narrative. Thus, in Kanthapura, Raja Rao achieves authenticity through the narrative rootedness in Indian culture, language, and oral traditions. This authenticity, combined with the realistic portrayal of characters and events, makes the novel's depiction of colonial India and the independence movement credible and emotionally impactful. Another example that may be cited is The Diary of a Young Girl by Anne Frank. Annie's diary offers an unfiltered first-hand account of her life in hiding during the Holocaust. Its raw honesty and youthful perspective resonate deeply with the readers. So this line reflects the emotional power of writing as an outlet, making the diary both a historical document and a deeply personal narrative. Another example that we may cite is Beloved by Toni Morrison. So why is it authentic? Because Morrison's novel is deeply rooted in the historical realities of slavery and its generational trauma, blending fact with the emotional truths of African American experiences. A quote from the novel, we can see, "Freeing yourself was one thing, claiming ownership of that freed self was another." So this kind of writing reflects the authenticity of the struggles for identity and freedom. Another example we may cite from A Thousand Splendid Suns by Khaled Hosseini. So this novel authentically portrays the lives of women in Afghanistan, drawing from Hosseini's understanding of his homeland's culture and history. So let us look at this quote. "Learn this now and learn it well, my daughter. Like a compass needle that points north, a man's accusing finger always finds a woman, always." So this quote reflects the harsh truths faced by women in patriarchal societies, and it's presented with emotional resonance that all the readers can relate with. By now, we must be clear as to what is authenticity and credibility in creative writing from the examples we have discussed. Authenticity in writing is achieved through emotional truth, personal voice, and deep connection to the subject matter. And these works resonate with readers not just because of their themes, but because the authors write with honesty, originality, and conviction. Though the world of creative writing is different from the real world, because it is a world created by the imagination, yet it is rooted in the cultural and historical context with which the writer is familiar. When a reader is making himself or herself ready to believe in a creation of a writer, he or she is guided by the experience based on the real life. A creative writer therefore must build up a convincing base of credibility and authenticity on the basis of his or her deep understanding of common human experience. Let us now look at the characteristics of authentic and credible writing. Distinctive voice, that is, every writer has his or her own unique tone, style, and perspective on the world, and readers appreciate originality and a personal touch, valuing creativity over imitation. Emotional honesty, that is, writing with vulnerability and genuine emotion, helps create a strong connection with readers. For example, while writing, when we share personal struggles and imperfections, it often resonates more than portraying an idealized version of life. Next consideration is relatable characters and realistic settings. So even in fiction, characters should act in ways that feel authentic and relatable. And the settings should be detailed enough to make readers feel like they are truly there. Next important point about how authenticity and credibility works is thorough research and accuracy. As a writer, accurately portraying facts, cultures, and settings, this all adds credibility to our works. It is important to avoid reinforcing stereotypes or spreading misinformation. And lastly is to maintain reader engagement consistently, and the logic, tone, and character development should remain consistent throughout the story. To sum up, the authenticity of a literary text is determined by the ability of the writer to make others believe in what appears real to him or her. A writer can achieve this with the help of his or her craft. Authenticity is the foundation of emotional connection, while credibility is the framework that supports believability. While authenticity centers on the writer's ability to present genuine emotions through unique perspectives and a truthful voice. Credibility, on the other hand, centers on whether the reader can believe in the story's characters, events, or world, even if it is a fictional or fantastical. Authenticity does not require factual accuracy, but credibility requires internal consistency and logical plausibility within the story's context. So after watching this video, I would suggest you all to write a 500-word scene or an anecdote based on point number 1, a personal memory blending truth with creative storytelling, and number 2, a fictional situation that incorporates a well-researched setting or event. Remember to focus on emotional honesty and logical consistency. Happy writing!